Billionaire CEO saw her half-dressed, saw what no one else did, but what he did next changed everything. She didn't scream when he walked in. She just turned half-dressed and stared. Grayson Stratton froze in the doorway. Her dress was halfway on, her shoulder bare, her eyes unreadable. 1 second passed. Then another. He said nothing. She said less. But in that moment, he saw something he wasn't prepared for. Not skin, not shame, fire. And fire doesn't flinch. It burns. If you love powerful drama, unpredictable romance, and emotional twists, like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin. Ava Monroe adjusted the thin silver chain around her neck as the elevator climbed toward the 42nd floor of Stratton & Company. Her blouse clung to her after a coffee spill in the break room, and her nerves felt like they might leak through her skin. It was only her 3rd day at the job. No one here knew her past, and that was the point. She'd buried it under ambition and fresh lipstick. She froze in fear when the elevator doors opened. Noah had told her the office was empty, except one person hadn't left. The man who ruined everything. The hallway was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your heartbeat sound like footsteps. Ava turned the corner quickly, her heels silent against polished marble. She remembered the dressing room tucked behind the executive lounge, a leftover set from a brand shoot. She slipped in, shut the door, and unzipped her dress. The new wrap was already laid out. She peeled off the coffee-soaked fabric, her back bare, reaching for the sleeves. That's when the door opened. Her eyes widened. His froze. Grayson Stratton, CO, powerful, cold, and very much not supposed to be standing there. He blinked, stammered something that didn't land, and shut the door. Ava stood still, the air thick around her. She finished dressing in silence, her breath tight in her chest. When she stepped out 10 minutes later, his office door was ajar, a soft glow spilling into the hallway. She knocked lightly. "Come in," he said, voice unreadable. He stood near the window, skyline behind him. "I didn't mean to invade your space." "Then why didn't you knock?" she asked. His jaw tightened. "Because I didn't expect you. That room hasn't been used in months." She wasn't convinced. Neither was he. "I should apologize," Ava muttered, clutching the clipboard she didn't need. "I didn't mean for you to see." He interrupted. "You handled it better than most. You didn't panic." She blinked. What's panic supposed to look like? He didn't smile, but something softened. Screaming, storming out, accusations. You just stood there. A pause. "I'm not used to being seen like that," she said. "I didn't see your body, Ava. I saw your spine." That should have ended it, but it didn't, because she still felt his gaze long after she left. 2 hours later, back in her apartment, Ava collapsed onto the couch. Her roommate, Lena, popped up from behind a face mask. "You look like you just got hit by a truck." "Try a billionaire with bad timing," Ava groaned. Lena blinked. "Wait. No. Did he?" Walked in. Full eye contact. Mid-change. Was he gross? "No," Ava said honestly. He was stunned. Left immediately. Said barely anything. "That's worse," Lena muttered. Now he's either repressing it or romanticizing it. Ava frowned. That wasn't the issue. The real issue? He looked at her like she was more than a stranger. And that scared her. Grayson stood alone on his balcony, bourbon in hand, but the taste didn't register. The image had already carved itself into his memory. But it wasn't her body that lingered. It was a fire in her eyes. She didn't flinch, didn't tremble. She simply looked back, unafraid. That kind of presence couldn't be taught. He'd seen ambition. He'd seen elegance. But this was dangerous. Because Grayson Stratton built an empire by being untouchable. and Ava Monroe made him feel exposed. The next morning, Ava entered the office with her chin higher. Her curls were up, her lipstick sharper. If she was going to be remembered, it wouldn't be for what he accidentally saw. It would be for what she chose to show. "Morning, Ava," said Zane, a junior strategist. "You're glowing today." "Maybe I finally slept," she lied, sitting at her desk. The elevator pinged. Grayson stepped out. No tie, collar unbuttoned. Calm, calculating. But his eyes, they flicked to her instantly and lingered. She looked away. Too fast. Meetings were brutal. Ava scribbled notes fast enough to tear paper. Grayson was sharp, unreadable. But in the spaces between words, she felt it, the shift, the weight of things unsaid. At 6:03, she began packing up. That's when Lorraine, the senior PA, appeared. "Mr. Stratton would like to see you." Ava blinked. "Now!" "Conference room. He's waiting." She entered carefully. He stood by the city view glass. "I've reviewed your background," he began. "You're too qualified for the role you're in. I needed the job, and I have a better offer. The night of the gala. The atrium hall shimmered with light and leather shoes. Ava walked in wearing a black satin gown that hugged every right place. Her name was on the program. Aurora Project. Lead design director, Ava Monroe. She saw Grayson across the room, talking, laughing. But when he saw her, he stopped. A half smile touched his lips, then vanished. Others stared too. One, a senior exec named Cameron, approached. "Didn't expect the intern to clean up like this," he said. "Guess you're working your way up, one suit at a time." "Back off," said Grayson, appearing from nowhere. The air snapped tight. "That was out of line," Grayson told Cameron. "Apologize. Relax. She's not your property." "No," Grayson replied. "She's not, but she's not your punchline either." Cameron muttered something and slipped away. Ava stood frozen. "You didn't need to do that," she whispered. Grayson's voice lowered. "Actually, I did." He offered his arm. She hesitated, then took it. They moved toward the rooftop terrace, away from a noise. "You really believed in my work?" she asked. "I believed in you before I knew your name," he replied. The terrace glowed under string lights and silence. "Why me?" Ava asked. "I've seen 100 portfolios." Grayson faced her. But only one person stood half-dressed in front of me and still stood tall. The silence pulsed. "That shouldn't be the reason." "It's not," he said. "But it was the moment I realized you don't bend." She looked at him. Really looked. He wasn't cold. He was afraid. "So what do you want?" she asked. "Redemption? Romance?" He stepped closer. "Respect. And maybe a chance." Then she kissed him. Slow. Controlled. But when they pulled apart, neither spoke. The next week passed like fog and fire. Nothing between them was declared. But everything had changed. At work, Grayson was distant but deliberate. Ava stayed professional, even as her inbox flooded with new projects. He hadn't touched her since the kiss. Hadn't even messaged. Lena noticed. "You're quieter," she said. "You seeing him?" Ava shook her head. "No, but I'm being seen." And that, in this world, in this company, felt louder than any love letter. Grayson didn't give her attention. He gave her altitude. Online whispers began. "She's sleeping with the boss." "Overnight promotion? Please." The office buzzed with envy and suspicion. Ava tried to ignore it until a printed meme showed up on her desk, a cartoon of her hugging money bags. Her hands trembled. She walked straight into Grayson's office. "Let me handle it," he said. "I don't need saving," she replied. "I need a mic." At the next company Q&A, she took the mic without permission. "I wasn't chosen because I'm convenient," she said. "I was chosen because I show up and I deliver." 1 month later, Ava launched Monroe Studios with backing from Aurora's profits. Her debut collection hit national features within 2 weeks. Grayson stayed in the shadows, making quiet connections, rerouting resources to her team. She never asked for it. He never admitted it. One day, she returned to her office and found a framed sketch on her desk, one she drew before Aurora ever existed. It was her first idea, her first dream. He had saved it. "You kept this?" she asked later. "Of course," he said. "You thought you were hiding, but I saw you, long before you saw yourself." They didn't announce their relationship. They didn't need to. Love doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just lingers long enough to stay. Grayson let her shine. Ava let him soften. She never moved into his penthouse. He never tried to dim her light. Instead, they met in the middle, always in the middle. She said, "I want to build, not just belong." He said, "Then let's build something no one else can break." And from that blueprint came something lasting. Love rooted in vision, not validation. A year later, sunlight spilled across a Brooklyn brownstone kitchen. Ava stood barefoot, tea in hand, her bump just showing under soft linen. Grayson wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "I still remember the first time I saw you," he whispered. "I thought I ruined everything." Ava turned, smiling. "You didn't walk in on me," she said. "You walked into your future." Because sometimes the most accidental moment becomes the most intentional choice. And he never looked away again. 2 seasons later, their daughter arrived, a storm wrapped in softness, with Ava's fierce eyes and Grayson's quiet strength. They named her Arden, meaning Valley of the Eagle. Every night, Grayson read her bedtime stories while Ava sketched beside the crib, building dreams for tomorrow. Their home was filled with light, not just from the windows, but from the peace they chose every day. Ava no longer ran from the past. Grayson no longer feared the future. Together, they raised something unbreakable, a family built from fire,